Hey, everybody, welcome back to what is, for the moment, still known as Searching for Political Identity. If you're a regular listener of this show, you know that I've been talking in recent weeks about the rebrand that's going to be upcoming. I'm going to be ditching Searching for Political Identity and leaning into the Brian Escow podcast. If you want to know my full thoughts on that, listen to the episode from last week with my friend Jake Day. I talked about it in the intro, how I'm not 100% comfortable with that, but nonetheless, I'm doing it because I think it's time for a change. So it's funny because the guest who I have for you today, the first thing he said to me was, I love the name of your podcast, how it's not just some guy's name and then show. I already know what I'm getting into. So that was kind of funny, but nonetheless, that's the direction I'm going with. So I have a few things to talk about before I introduce my guest, but to give you a preview, it's a big name, a really great guest and a big name from X, none other than Joey Mannarino. You may know, if you're on X, you definitely know him. If you're not on X, it's probably important that you get to know him because he's one of the biggest political commentators and consultants in the game right now. So it was a tremendous opportunity for me to host him. I'll say a few more words about him in a minute, but first I want to talk about some quick headlines. I give you very quick headlines, very quick thoughts on them. Perhaps I should do a preemptive sip of tea. Actually, it's just hot water today. So with Doge, look, um, first things, if there's a constitutional violation, then it needs to be stopped. The Constitution is paramount. I think we can all agree on that. With that said, I love the idea of the most effective, prominent, well-respected businessman alive today coming in and overhauling, modernizing, and upgrading our government. I mean, why wouldn't you want that? And like he said in a press conference with the president yesterday, he's going to make mistakes, but we'll fix the mistakes quickly. So I just love bringing that mentality in. I understand the Congress has the power of the purse, and look, I'm a recently licensed lawyer, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this issue. All I can say is I don't see the Congress having the capacity, just by the nature of it, to do this kind of audit. It seems like it would have to come from the chief executive, and so I think it's a great thing. And as long as we're following the Constitution, then I say keep going, rock and roll. Interesting about the Department of Education, I saw a talk or a clip that Elon reposted of himself talking about education. It was probably from a couple of years ago, but it could have been more recent than that. I don't know. But he was saying how education is like vaudeville. And I guess vaudeville was before TV and movies, as Elon described it. Each community had its own kind of troupe of actors, and they would do the community entertainment. And Hollywood ended up replacing that by centralizing the talent and basically and introducing a profit motive. And next thing you know, the local community theater groups were really not relevant, and it was all about these studios and all of that. And so he said that's where education is. And I commented on it and I go, wait a minute, Mr. Libertarian leaning guy, is this an argument for centralized education? Because I thought that's what you're fighting against philosophically and also practically by cutting or wanting to get rid of the Department of Education. And actually, someone commented a very helpful response. They said, hey, it's not that they're calling for the centralization or the government control of education. We're calling for profit seekers and talented educators to come together and form that new model where, without the need for any government, you could have much higher quality education. So I thought that was really interesting. I need another sip. Forgive me. I'm not a very good broadcaster, am I? So that's my thoughts on Doge. Mistakes will be made undoubtedly, but this guy Elon has humility and he has experience, and I love the idea of modernizing our government, making it more efficient. Um, period. Next one is this Representative Anna. I always trip up on her name. It's like a beautiful name, but it's like a mouthful. Anna Paulina Luna. Very smart cookie she seems to be. I don't really know much about her other than she's very outspoken, very intelligent, and I respect her. She is apparently leading this task force that's going to uncover the truth about the JFK, RFK, and ML. I mean, all these assassinations end with a K. Can we get a little diversity in the people that end up dead? Oh, I mean, that's a bad joke. Come on. JFK, RFK, MLK, assassinations, Epstein files, UFOs, 9/11, and the origins of COVID. So presumably we've been lied to about all of that. And so this is amazing. And this is going to go a long way, obviously, to restore trust. And I think even people who are not conspiracy theorists sense that there is such, I think one of the reasons there's such division in the country and mistrust is because subconsciously we feel like we know that our government has not been truthful to us. So this is very important. And about the UFO things, which is obviously the most interesting thing to me, um, I think it was in that same episode from last week when I had my friend Jake Day on, when I also talked about the rebrand, but I also talked about why I believe that aliens are here. So you can listen to that if you want to hear that story again. But my mind is open and it's been blown for months and years now. And I've been, my mom thinks I'm crazy. I said, Mom, good to see you. Once a year, at least I go back to Jersey and I hang out with her. And we're driving a couple months ago. How are you? I was good. Well, there's underground alien bases in the ocean. So that's basically where our relationship is. Just doing, hi, Mom. So yeah, first thing I wanted to talk about was Doge. Next thing was this task force that Representative Luna's introducing, amazing. And then this other thing is the halftime show at the Super Bowl. I liked it. I thought it was cool. I don't listen to Kendrick Lamar. I can't understand. I'm not trying to be funny or rude. I cannot understand a word he says, and so his music is not really meaningful to me. I thought it was a beautifully orchestrated show. I liked it. I I don't know what he was saying. So if he was saying some horrible shit, then I'll need to revisit. But it didn't bother me at all that there was no white people, and I'm the biggest railer against of critical race theory, as you know if you follow me online. I don't believe in that shit at all. And because I don't believe in that shit, I had absolutely no problem with an artist choosing to have the people that he wanted to associate with on stage. Um, I dug it, man. And they had the red, white, and blue. So look, there was probably some subversive stuff being done there, but I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. Would I have preferred a rock concert? Yes. Or a rapper maybe that I understood? Yes. But I thought it was a beautiful performance. My fiance didn't love it. A lot of people didn't like it, and that's fine. But I don't like the racism coming out. Now, I understand some of the racism coming out, not that it was justified, but feels like a response to all this years of woke stuff and critical race theory. So I get it. I get the temptation to want to go, this is DEI and rail against it, but that's not where I went. So that maybe that gives you kind of an indication of where I'm coming from. I just leave people alone, man. Let them do what they want to do. But that was an interesting moment. A lot of chatter online about the all black performance. So yeah, now's the time where I just introduce Joey and let you listen to our conversation. As I said earlier, he's one of the best in the game, and I got to know him a bit and how he developed these strong views. We talked Trump, of course. We talked the political landscape, and I got to know his story, and that's about it. We went for an hour and a half, and he was just a phenomenal guest, and I'm grateful that he joined me. So if you're listening to this on X or you find me on X at Brian Escow, you can find all my podcast episodes in my highlights tab or by clicking the link in my bio wherever you're following me, and that'll take you to the other podcast platforms. So that's about it, guys. Um, I've got a lot of great stuff coming your way in the next few weeks and months. So I'm just grateful. I'm in a really good place in life. Recently licensed lawyer, engaged, podcast. It's all good. And I'm still trying to find my place in this world, in this political media landscape, but we'll be leaving the Searching for Political Identity brand. And we're going to be leaning into I'm Brian Escow, whoever that is. So appreciate y'all sticking with me through this transition. Thank you so much. See you next week. Joey Mannarino, what a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much for doing this.
I'm so glad to be here. I've been a fan of your page for a while, and I like everything that I see. You're actually a podcast that you read the title, and it's not just the name and the word show. And I actually know what we're getting with this show. So we're going to find out a lot about each other, and it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. So congratulations to thank you for that. Congratulations on the Super Bowl victory, I should start with.
Thank you. I knew we would win. We are You know, Philly, it's hard to be an Eagles fan. It's hard to be a Philadelphia sports fan in general because every time we win, we burn the city down, and we don't win all that much, but it's all good.
Right.
We're so happy now.
Yeah, Philadelphia is an interesting place, I guess. So let the audience know you're born and raised,
Born
right?
and raised in Philadelphia. Yeah, born in Philadelphia, and we moved out to the suburbs when I was about 5. But it's a beautiful, beautiful city. It's run by really bad people. It's been run into the ground over the years, I have to admit. It's not exactly known for being beautiful anymore. It's known for Kensington. Everybody, you know, even abroad, I'll talk to people about Philadelphia and they'll say, "Oh, you know Kensington?" I'm like, "Oh, that's not where I'm from. That's one street. It's Kensington Avenue. Let's talk about the Liberty Bell, the Constitution Center." But we've become known for something else. So hopefully that'll turn around someday.
Right. And that can be so much part of the conversation that we get into tonight. So I also want to congratulate you on your Fox appearance yesterday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was fun. That was a last minute DM. I just got it in the middle of the day and I said, yeah, let's do it. It was fun.
Yeah, no, you did great. And so was that your first time on on Fox?
On Fox, it was. I've been on a couple news programs before, but never Fox. And that was great. It was really, it was quick. They put you in, they put you out. You do about 3 minutes and it's really
Right.
interesting. Have fun.
Right. Yeah. So I guess I do want to start with a general question, which is how did you get into politics? Because I didn't know this until I did a little research on you. You were a radio personality before you got into
Yeah, I
politics?
used to do radio. So back in the day, we're talking 10 years, but 2012, when I was in college, I actually joined a radio program in Philadelphia. It was called Heat 100 Radio was the station. And I joined, it was an R&B station, and it was a friend of mine who had the program, and I joined on with her. We did the morning show, and I did the night show. I joined her on the morning quite a bit. We used to have a lot of fun. And the way I got into politics was sort of by accident. It was the day of the primaries in Pennsylvania in 2016. And it was when Hillary and Bernie were going against each other. And it was Cruz, Kasich, and Trump. And everybody went around the round table that morning and they were talking about whether they were voting for Hillary or Bernie. And at that point, I had never said a word about the man who's currently president, Trump. I had
Right.
never, and I didn't know that you couldn't because back then, who knew that saying you were a Trump supporter was
Mm,
going to basically change your life? You were going to be labeled as something that you don't even know what you are being labeled as. So I did the roundtable with them, and they said Hillary or Bernie. I said I think I'm going to vote for Trump, and everybody froze. I was the only white person at that station. It never was a thing before then. Nobody ever brought it up. And then they were like, damn, really? They just looked at me like I dropped a bomb in the middle of the room. And except for one of them who was very understanding, she just figured he's white. That's what he's going to do. But yeah, so I said I was going to vote for Trump, and I did go vote for Trump that primary day. And from then, I kind of told that story. I stayed on the station, but nobody was listening anymore to me. It wasn't the station that let me go; it was the audience that let me go. They didn't want to hear from racist
really?
Joey Mannarino because I
Oh,
voted for
wow.
Donald Trump.
That's
And
interesting.
it's really, I mean, I was friends with all the people in Philly radio. I mean, it's really hilarious how I went from that to politics because politics, I wasn't even interested in it. And so I put the story out. I started talking a little bit about it. And a guy named Bill Mitchell, I'm not sure if you've had him on the program, but he is on X, formerly Twitter. He was huge back in the day on Twitter. He had a show called Your Voice America. And he invited me on as a guest, and I told the story. And that's it. From then, I ended up becoming a co host of his on his program, Your Voice America. And the rest is history. The
Mm,
rest, I just sort of stayed doing it. I became international correspondent for his Your Voice program and slowly started doing political consulting. And then I had my own Twitter, and it just grew and grew and grew. And now we are where we are. So
right.
that's about it.
Right. So it was an R&B station that you worked at?
R&B, R&B, hip hop. They had more hip hop. I did the R&B. but they were a
So
hip
how
hop.
did you come to be interested in R&B? You're younger than me.
Oh, no, my mother and, well, not my father really, but my mother raised me on Marvin Gaye, Barry White, Luther Vandross, Patti LaBelle. That's our music. That's my mother's music. So I was raised in the 90s, but I was raised on 70s soul, vinyl. So that's just how I got into that. And so I knew a lot of them. We would go to all the shows. I would interview the artists. We used to do Thanksgiving with Patti LaBelle and Christmas with Patti and everything. It's like family. I'm sorry, my dog really wants to jump up on here with me.
Yeah,
You
no
can come.
problem. Let
Come
it
on,
happen.
Alex.
Yeah.
Come on.
Of course you can.
Come on. He's just sitting here growling. So that's how I got into R&B. And basically, that I didn't know if I was going to do that forever, but it was something I did part-time in college. And it was fun. It was fun. I love music. I still, but look, I have on my TV right now Whitney Houston, Johnny Gill, Kenny Lattimore playlist. Like, I listen to that music. Just because I support Trump doesn't mean I listen to Kid Rock all day. But some people get it twisted. I don't know a lot of the country stuff. I don't know any of it. It's not on my playlist. Um, because that's the thing people need to understand, that the Trump base is a very diverse base of people. And
Hmm.
it's a guy we support for president because we like the policies he runs through the country. We like the way that he does things and we like the style of leadership he provides. It There is a culture to it, I guess. There is a culture, a MAGA culture, but not necessarily does it have to be that way. Everybody can support, and I'm telling you, Brian, there's so many people who secretly support him that
Mm.
can't talk about it for different
Right.
reasons.
Right.
And, it just is what it is. It's not that way so much anymore. Right
Yeah.
now, it's become so much more social. And I'm so glad because, you know, there's a lot of friends I lost over the years from 2015 up until, God, I think 2024 really is when a lot of these people started talking to me again.
I was going to
When
ask if they started to come around.
a few, I mean, I'll be honest, not that many. It's worse for me because I kind of grew big on Twitter and I'm not exactly um, reserved about the things I speak about.
No.
So, when you talk like that and you're very open about the way you feel about stuff, if they're already leaning left and you're not loving all the things about the left, it's not going to end well for your friends. But a lot of them have come around and they'll talk to me and they'll say, I was wrong. Maybe you're not a horrible person, and it's crazy. There were a lot of people in the beginning who just, the way they badmouthed me, it's like, wow, it's really cool what you thought of me all this time. But and you went through it too. You've got family who's on the left.
I
So
do. And so let's get into this now. You're so outspoken and
yes,
I am too. I
yeah,
know the line. You
mhm.
enjoy playing doing that edge play, so to speak, on that line.
Yeah, yeah.
Comedy, because you're funny as hell. You got a great comedic mind and you're informed and you're opinionated. And I like to go there too, but you don't hold back. Do you ever have any reservations
Do I have any reservations?
about going all out with the because you're not I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't have reached out to you if I thought you were hateful or mean because
Yeah,
I
no, I'm
don't.
not hateful. I don't know, Brian. It's the way I would talk to people at dinner. It's just the way I talk. It rubs a lot of people the wrong way in real life too. Let's be honest. But
Mm,
no, that's just how I've always been outspoken. I've always been somebody who has opinions and isn't afraid to share them. Sometimes I'll say something and I'll wish I didn't say it about 30 minutes later
right.
because I realize I offended someone. So like I talked a lot of, is this what
Go
can
ahead.
I?
No,
Okay,
let it
I
fly.
talked a lot of shit about vegans, and then I ended up becoming very good friends with the person who was a vegan, and I love them. They're wonderful. And I'm like, oh God, I shouldn't have talked all that shit. So I went through and deleted a lot of tweets about vegans, and I don't talk bad about vegans anymore
Mm,
because there's nothing wrong. They just love animals. And I don't like to judge people for it. It's actually beautiful, their lifestyle. If you think about it, they just
right.
don't eat animals.
Right.
And like they wouldn't eat my dog, I wouldn't eat my dog either. So, things like that, I'll eventually come around and sometimes say, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Um, but more likely than not, most of the tweets I never regret. There's a few I've regretted, but I can't really
Right.
think of many examples.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way, and I've only recently actually encountered this actually after all this time during my explosive transformation era since August when I endorsed Trump. Only now did it really catch up with me in some instance in my offline life, like last week. And so I'm reflecting and going, oh, have I caricaturized the left? Okay, sure. Obviously, that's part of the game a little bit. So there's that line of like, hey, this is part of the game versus are you just being a shit poster? I have to reflect on that. And it sells on Twitter.
Oh, it does. I mean, I came back, so they had me banned for 5 years. They banned me May 31 of 2018 when I was living in London. I was one of the original banned. I had 125K followers
Why
back
were you
then.
banned?
I don't know. I don't know the real reason to this day. They never gave me, this is the tweet. I was living in London. The last thing I remember tweeting before I got banned was something about, okay, it was the day Valerie Jarrett and Roseanne Barr had that fight. I didn't talk about that very much. I supported Roseanne. I didn't comment on what I thought Valerie looked like or didn't look like. And I knew to stay away from that. Back then,
Right.
you knew things, you just didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said something the day before. There was an article, and I think it was called The Intercept, that said, oh, there's not enough. No, there's too many white people riding the bikes in London. We need to diversify the landscape of who rides the bikes here. And this was back when London was really, really dangerous. There were stabbings every day and acid attacks and jihadist stuff going all around. And I'm thinking to myself, and I posted, I said, don't you think they would worry more about the acid attacks than that there's not enough Muslim guys riding the bicycles? Like, are we stupid here?
Mm-hmm.
That tweet got taken down,
Mm.
and they didn't ban me. They just made me delete the tweet. The next day I woke up, I was banned. I don't know if that was it. I really don't know. Also the UK, they just sometimes put you in jail for tweets they don't like. So, and it was already going that way back then. So I don't know if the government, for some reason, I have no idea what happened. All I know
Right.
is I didn't get it back till January of 2023. When I came back, I had 50,000 followers. I guess the other 75K were gone. I don't know how that works. And now I have almost 600K. So yeah, it does work. It does work, but it's not because it works that I talk the way I talk. I talk the way I talk. Just that's how I talk.
That's the line. That's what people have me, thinking about because, like I tell people in defense of myself, I say, where does the genuine feeling end and the grift begin? Because
Right.
this is how I talk, as you say. I'm a bit of a dick at times. I'm a bit of a wannabe comedian, and this is what I'm doing. And I really feel this way. I really feel
Yeah.
this way. It's
Yeah. I
crazy.
know. I know what you mean. And, sometimes it's said in a little bit hyperbolic way, maybe. Sometimes you say, I mean, sometimes I really will tell people off in the worst way. And probably shouldn't put it out there like that, but I do. It's some things need to be said. They just need to be
Right.
said.
Yeah, it's weird navigating this modern era with these apps and all these opinions and sharing them. And I mean, it's working for you so far, it seems. So
It's
that's great.
working. I mean, and if it didn't work, I would do something else. I don't do this for a living. I do political fundraising for a living, actually.
So
I
how'd you
do.
get into that?
So, okay, 2020, COVID, that was when all campaigns stopped campaigning in person and everything became digital. And I can't say who I was hired by because of NDAs and stuff, but somebody who knew what I used to do and how I was good back in the day on Twitter had hired me to run their Twitter account. And they were running against a race they couldn't win. They knew they couldn't win, but they wanted social media help. So, this dog tonight, people, if you have a dash hound ever, you understand what I'm going through. And he's right here, and he wants to join the podcast too. What
Yeah,
can I
he's
say?
welcome. Get him. I'm
So
fine
if
with get him
only
a
if
mic.
only we could understand him, he would really be a great addition. I think he's a socialist though, because he always wants to eat my stuff. But anyway, so I did that, and we then started to realize that these emails that people were sending out were essentially just reworded versions of the tweets that we were doing on clients' social media. So we realized, oh, if we're going to just have social media posts be made into emails that then go as fundraising emails and fundraising texts, why don't we just learn to send the fundraising emails and fundraising texts? So we
Mm,
did that. And my partner and I, we very successfully did that. We raised many millions of dollars for candidates, all up and down from federal house to state house to Senate candidates. And that's what we still do today. So people say, oh, you tweet for money. No, I mean, Elon is nice and generous. Nice and generous. If I was living from that, would be talking from a cardboard box, because people don't understand the way the payment system actually works for
right.
Twitter. You understand, I'm sure. You know what you get a million
Yeah,
impressions
I
on a
understand that it
post
ain't great for a guy like me. That's all.
now, and they
But I'm
think
not complaining.
I'm not complaining either. I used to do this for free, right? So the fact that
Right.
he'll give,
Yeah.
if I get a decent amount, but it's not enough to pay the rent. Let's just put it that way. So, I say that just to say, people say, oh, you grift. People, they call you grift. They call me
Right.
grift. There's no
Right.
grift. If we were grifting, we'd need to find a new grift. We'd be very broke grifters if it was Twitter.
That is poignant.
Yes.
So true. Yeah. I want to milk this fucking thing, but it's a genuine, as I said, feeling. So it's just an interesting place to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it is. And I'm glad. I'm glad that people listen. That's all I'm glad about. I'm glad that there's an audience to hear it. Because before, were you on
Mm.
back in the day before Elon owned
No,
it?
that's what I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
I didn't have an online presence until 21.
Wow. Okay. So, and
Yeah.
where
Isn't
did
that
you
weird?
start? Where did you start? What platform?
Um, Facebook, and I actually
Um,
got so I started to get active on my Facebook from high school. I resurrected that thing, but was so insecure my whole life between high school and then that I just didn't have any sort of presence. And I started saying something about China, and I actually got banned.
oh, wow.
Yeah, it was some weird post about there being a fine line between a freedom fighter and a terrorist. I probably hit a nerve. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about publications in China being shut down or whatever,
Yeah.
but I assume it was related to that. Then I got on Twitter, and that was it.
Yeah. And Twitter was different back then. Well, 21 was when they knew Elon was going to buy. So
Yeah, so
they knew it started
I was
looking tough.
already I missed so much.
Yeah. No, it was different back in the day. The things that were different. Number one, no offense to whoever listens, the algorithm was a lot better back then. You If you followed somebody, you actually saw their posts.
Mm,
Now, if you follow somebody, I follow you, I see you once a week. I mean, if I don't go to your page and look through it and make a list and see people,
yeah.
before you hit follow, you would see. Also, before, if I retweeted something, my followers would see it. Now, people don't really see retweets very much. It's
Mm,
very hard to get retweets in front of people. But what was horrible is that you couldn't say anything. So you would just basically post an article and say, wow, oh my God, that's interesting. You can't say anything because you say the wrong word. Next thing
mm,
you know, you're shut down. I had a friend, she had 460,000 followers or something. Election day 2020, she got banned because she said she was hearing about fraud. She got banned. Actually,
mhm,
everyone I knew got banned. I mean, I'm trying to think if I know anybody that wasn't banned at that point. But my friend Ann Vanderstill, she got banned. Nobody knows why. They're all back now. They're all
mm,
back. And now they all have hundreds and thousands of followers more than they had before, which proves it was not them that was the problem. It was the platform. So
mm,
Elon he gave everyone a voice back, both the left and the right, because the left is more unhinged than ever with what they say too.
mhm.
So
Right. That's
they
true.
wouldn't really get banned as much, but they would say some stuff. And every so often you'd see one. I mean, the Krasensteins were down. They were banned back in the day. I think that was just the sacrificial lamb. They needed to
Hmm,
show that they were unbiased. So they
interesting.
said, let's get rid of these guys. And then they came back. And, I'm glad everyone's back. I want both sides to speak freely, to fight, to interact, to get along. Brian, at the end of the day, we have a lot more common ground than people realize. We make fun of
Mm,
the left, we mock the left, whatever. We have a lot more common ground than we realize. And I think at the end of the day, we need to
mm.
realize that too. Now,
That is
not with
such
the corrupt people on top.
right.
Like, I don't have anything in common with Maxine Waters or
Mm,
Elizabeth Warren. I have nothing in common with those people. But your average Democrat, I think a lot of them, they're just pretty much misinformed. I have a family member that voted for Biden in 2020. And why did they vote for Biden? Because they thought Trump was too crass. They actually agreed with Trump on everything. They just
Exactly.
thought he was too crass.
Just couldn't get there
And
yet.
no, they couldn't get. In 2024, they voted for Biden, not Biden, Trump. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
it's not that they vote for Biden, they're automatically evil. They vote for Harris, they're automatically evil. They're just, some of them really believe it because they watch CNN all day and they're brainwashed into the next world. And some of them, I don't think they know. They don't pay attention. Because if you're getting all your information from the nightly news at 6:30 on ABC on your local affiliate, you don't know what's going on. If I call my mother right now and ask her, what did Doge do today? She'd say, what the hell is Doge? Like, who? Who's Doge? Is that a singer?
Mm,
Is he a rapper? Is that, you
right.
know?
Sounds like a rapper.
So, yeah, they wouldn't know. So, you know, ignorance is a lot of the reason we have
Mm,
problems, more so than that half the country supports the insanity that goes on the other side.
yeah. I really appreciate your point about common ground because that's what this podcast started as for me. Search for truth, a search for our personal identity, but also common ground and wanting to be a unifying, if you will, figure, someone
Yeah.
who is open minded and part of the the good habits as a country that we need to develop. But you become part of this polarized environment, and it does change you a little bit. But it's important to keep that. So, how did you come to develop your strong views? That's always a big part of what I ask people. I come from this background where my dad and his brothers are very progressive, and um, and perhaps I've caricatured them in some ways, and so I have to reflect on that too. But generally speaking, that's the ethos, and I just kind of failed to launch for so many years with my own distinguishing myself and having opinions on things, actually reading different things instead of just taking in the nightly news, as you say. So, how did you get this strong identity, and is it conservative?
I would say it's conservative. It is more conservative than, I mean, it's definitely not liberal. On some things, maybe I'm more liberal than others. Like I see some of the things that the people on the far right say, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about all that, but
Right,
whatever. Um,
Myron. No, I don't know.
I mean, I have nothing but respect for Myron, except some of the Jewish stuff I just don't get. I mean, I don't get a lot of these Jewish haters. Um, I'm not Jewish. People say I'm Jewish. I had a groiper show up at my father's doorstep and leave this fake bomb at my father's doorstep. It was actually filled with grass because I was serving the Jewish agenda or something. Me, I'm the Jewish
Yeah,
agenda. I wish. I don't know. I mean, I'm being
right.
paid by the Jews. They don't have the right Venmo or PayPal or whatever. They got to get the right one if they want to pay me. But anyway, so yeah, when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, oh, today I saw a tweet. The Pope, the Pope is serving the Jewish agenda. What? What are you talking about? So that's kind of stuff. But that's not right. That's left, right. That's just a whole nother subsection of weird. So yeah, I'm definitely a conservative person. How did I develop that view? I'll tell you, I didn't grow up in a political household. My parents don't care. I mean, my father is a conservative. He used to listen in the car. We would listen to Mark Levin, Rush Limbaugh. Um, but I was 10. Who the hell knew what they were talking about? It was just Obama sucks. And Obama did suck. But whatever. I didn't understand any of that. Neither did I care. First person I voted for was Obama. When I was 18 in 2012, I voted Obama. And I thought Romney was a joke because back then Republicans were not cool. They had a
Mm,
bad, broken brand. And you only voted Romney if you were rich. And I'm not rich. I didn't come from, I mean, my father's a doctor, but my parents were divorced. I didn't come from money. So, in any case, Romney was bad. He was for the rich. He was for the racists and whatever else. It wasn't so prominent back then. Trump came out, and it's a funny story. 2015, it was the third primary debate. I was at a friend's house, and they're one of the most, so they're so liberal, they sung at the Democrat National Convention in 2024 for Kamala.
mm.
This is their family.
Never
And
go that liberal.
If you know that, if you know me, you know who these people are, and they're beautiful, wonderful people. But it's so funny that she kicked off my affinity for the conservative movement. She said, "Did you see that debate last night where Trump made a fool of himself?" I said, "No." She said, "Go down to the basement, watch it on the DVR." So I
Mm.
watched it on the DVR, and I sat there, and almost every word that he was saying, I'm like, that makes
Fire.
that makes sense. That
Right.
is really smart. So
Hmm.
went back upstairs. What did you see all that? I said, "Oh yeah, that was interesting." I got in the car, I went on YouTube and I put in one of his rallies because I wanted to hear more. And I said, "Oh God, I think I like this guy." I said, and then I would read the news, and every story back then was Trump is a racist, Trump is evil, Trump is this. I didn't like Hillary Clinton. Um, I just wasn't interested. Bernie, actually, I didn't mind. I kind of liked what Bernie had to say. Um, but I wasn't all the way there. I was with Trump, and I was very early
Hmm.
on liking Trump. So anyway, we fast forward. That was August. Fast forward to April when the primary was, and I spoke publicly about that. And that is when I started to understand the issues. When I started to be contacted by podcasts to go on. When I started to sort of be brought into the world by Republicans, by conservatives, that's when I began to sort of understand my actual political leanings on a lot of issues.
Mm.
And before that, I don't even think I knew what the issues were. I don't even remember. If you would have asked me, what's your ideal tax policy? I wouldn't have known what to tell you. I wouldn't have had an answer because people, I don't think, especially pre Trump, people didn't sit around thinking about politics. Politics became pop culture after Trump.
Right.
That's
Right.
something that I don't think we ever. This dog, he agrees, but he agrees. He voted for Trump too. I think we just didn't send the ballot in. But what can you do about that? Yeah, so that's how I developed my views, and then slowly things got crazier. When Trump got in, these people lost their minds. That's when all the men can have babies, and you have to accept transgenderism in 5 year olds, and you have to. I mean, when that stuff started to come out, it became very clear to me. Here's what I stand for: anything that these
Hmm.
people are against. Like, if you're
Right.
sitting around telling me that men can get pregnant and 5 year old boys can become little girls because they like to play with Barbie dolls, so we got to cut their testicles off. Like, yeah, that's when I get to the point where I'm like, you people are fucking insane, and I don't want to be a part of any movement that you're a
Right.
part of,
And I
period.
have to assume you're wrong about everything else too.
Yeah, and then you hear the stuff about they don't want to lower taxes. They want higher taxes. And everybody used to say lower taxes. That was what you always understood about politicians, is they would always at least say they wanted lower taxes, right?
Mm.
Then the left doesn't even talk about wanting to lower taxes anymore. They just don't. They talk about, let's raise taxes on the billionaires and millionaires. Then they dropped billionaires. It became just millionaires. Meanwhile, inflation is through the roof, where you're going to be a millionaire and you're going to be flat broke in about 10 years. Because the way this money's going right now, 100K is the new 45K. So we've just got to be real here. When does the whole tax the rich thing become just tax everybody? That's how they all
Hmm.
start. Well, I
I
think it
see.
was Kamala this time wanted to do, she wanted to do some tax. Oh, capital gains unrealized. Just over $100 million net worth people. That's fine and cool. You pass that, and then you lower it in 2 years to 50 million. Then you lower it in 3 years to 1 million. Then next thing you know, oh, that's just a blanket tax. You know how the income tax started.
Right.
These are not things that are secrets. They're just things you have to research, and then you'll understand. When you realize it was on the top 1%, that lovely phrase they love to say, 3% of the income of the top 1% for a temporary period to fund a war. And now I'm going to fork over 50% of my income to a government so it can go to Rwanda and Tanzania and transgender plays in Ecuador and condoms for Gaza or whatever. I mean, what are we doing? How did we
Yeah.
get here? Nobody's
Mm.
supposed to be here.
Right. So I'm curious. You are a very informed person, and you're a professional. So are you? This is the Sarah Palin question, by the way. So like, where are you getting your information generally? All just different
Uh,
publications.
Different various publications, frankly. I don't get it from one source. I read, number one, I talk to a lot of members within Congress and people that are in the actual art of this stuff and different
Mm.
consultants and stuff like that. So I get a lot of the behind the scenes scoop too. I don't talk about them because otherwise they'll stop telling me stuff. But and reading, you read history, you read very carefully, basically. You have to make sure you go to primary sources, I think. I don't like opinion pieces very much. You have to be very careful about stuff like that. But history is the greatest informant of the current, as far as I'm
Mm.
concerned. So
Right.
I like to know about the past. That's more important to me than anything, frankly. When you read about all of these we've been through a lot of what we're going through now in the past. We've been through a lot of various transformative periods. When you read about them, then you can start to understand how things are going now. But what
And the
we've
left
never
is
had.
scared. To that point, the left would say, "Oh, this is a reflection of Germany."
Well,
And
I
to
don't
that,
I don't really I don't know where they get that from. That's the thing. I don't see. Here's what reminds me. I think of Germany, I think of 1929, I think of Weimar Germany when I look at the left. When I look at what they support, the rampant insanity, the sexual deviancy, and I'm not talking about promiscuity and stupid stuff like that. I'm not
mm,
one of those Puritans. But when you sit around and you talk about these gay pride parades that are not about gay pride, you have naked men walking around in front of children, stuff like that. That's Weimar Germany. So if you want to talk about we're going Nazi, you're going Weimar. You're only scared that the response is going to be Nazi Germany because
mm,
that's what it was to you. It doesn't have to get there if we can stop you people before you go insane. We don't want kids exposed to pornography. We don't want
right.
kids exposed to nudity in the streets. So no, nobody wants to be Nazi. Like literally nobody wants to be. They say Elon Musk is a Nazi. He's sitting with Netanyahu all the time and Ben Shapiro. That's the worst Nazi on earth. I
Hmm.
mean, they don't even know what the word means. I know what the word Weimar Germany means, though. And I think they've realized that they can't keep doing all that. I think they've realized it's gone too far. The woke stuff has started to die. Um,
It's unbelievable.
look at all the companies just killing it slowly, slowly. I think we're getting to a point where sanity is going to return. I mean, not with all of them. There was what was that lady's name today? She was a representative, and she's screaming, "We must fuck Trump!" And she's
Oh
yelling
yeah, I saw
into.
you post that.
I
Yeah.
don't even know what her name is. Maxine something, not Waters, but another Maxine. Maxine Dexter, I think. Anyway, there's a few of them that are going to be around, but these are a dying breed of people. I think once the midterms come out and they kind of really do poorly, we're going to see a real shift where you're going to see people like Andy Bashir lead the party of the Democrats.
Wow, you're gonna
Uh,
leave or lead?
lead. They're going to
Lead.
lead the party. They're going to
Hmm.
now. Not that they're any different. They just know how to message better. Um, they will, at the end of the day, serve the same master that causes all the wokeness and causes all the craziness, but they will not be so open about it. So, will
Mm,
people be fooled back into supporting the Democrats? And then will the Democrats go back into their old pattern?
mm.
We'll see. Now, frankly, I think if J.D. Vance is the nominee in 2028, I don't think we'll have to worry about that because he's so relatable that I don't really think there's a candidate right now that I see of the Democrats that can beat him. Not that I was not the biggest fan in the beginning. I'll tell you the truth. When it was Vance, I was like, oh, really? Vance? I don't know. But I've grown to really like Vance, and I wanted Vivek. I just wanted Vivek. I like Vivek so much that it was nothing even against JD Vance. It was just, oh, why is it not Vivek? You have
Right.
a once in a
Right.
generation orator. They compare him to Obama. They compare him to Obama because Obama knew how to speak. Obama
Hmm.
could deliver a message.
Right.
You say whatever you want about him. He's a horrible policymaker, horrible president overall when you come to what he did with healthcare and all that stuff. But that man could raise the roof off of a building when it came to his speech.
Right.
And I watched Vivek in Iowa, and I watched Vivek after he dropped out. And the way he can articulate a message, I don't think we've ever had that in the Republican Party. So
Right.
I wanted him. It was Vance. Okay, cool, it's Vance. more I got to see about him, the more I like him, and now I'm a big fan. So I think if Vance is our nominee in 28, we'll be pretty safe.
Yeah, and he's another convert who who literally said Trump was Hitler.
Trump's the next Hitler, America's Hitler. And I think that's another powerful thing is that you
Mhm.
had a converted person on the ticket. I mean, look at Pence. Pence never converted. Pence
I
thought
wanted to
Trump was.
ask you about Pence. People often ask me, how do you square the fact that you think Brian Pence did the right thing on that fateful day with the fact that you became a Trump supporter? So, what are your thoughts on that guy?
I don't think he even knows who he is. I think Pence essentially was DOA when it came to his political career. And for whatever reason, somebody around President Trump saw this guy and thought he would be the perfect counterbalance. The way I understand it is they really wanted to get the Ted Cruz base because the primary was very ugly in 16. They weren't going to get the Cruz supporters, the traditional conservative evangelical voter. Cruz was not joining the Trump ticket. Remember, everybody thought Trump was a dead man walking when he got that nomination. It was Hillary was the president. Trump had no chance.
Mm,
It was over. It was over from the minute the balloons came down on Hillary and Bill. And so Pence was what they could get to ease up that base of support. I, I never liked Pence. I never liked Pence. Pence is why I didn't like Republicans. That group, that idea of Republican, I'm too good for everybody. I'm holier than thou. That's not my style of people. So Pence embodies that to me. And in any case, I'm very glad he's no longer part of the ticket. I'm
right.
glad he has been relegated to the dustbin of history. Now he just basically sits around dissing RFK. That's his
Oh, I
latest
didn't see
thing.
that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, his whole PR push has been we can't have RFK confirmed because he is not anti-abortion enough. Well, Mike,
Hmm.
just shut up. Like you're very well anti-abortion. You're very well all the right conservative things, but what accomplishment is tied to your name?
Right.
What conservative policy did you push forward when you were vice president? And what did you ever achieve? Even as governor, what did he achieve? He didn't achieve anything. He's just a talkative fool.
Mm. Well, feelings known. Yeah, it's just tough though because what even if Trump was right, and I don't know if he was about all the tomfoolery in 2020,
Mhm.
did Pence do the right thing? Like you have an oath to the Constitution. I kind of respect. That's where I'm at, but yet I still came to vote for Trump. So I have
Yeah,
maybe it's just more research between me and yeah. So I'm not yet a Pence hater, but maybe I'll get there.
yeah. I mean, so here's the thing: you won't get there because you'll never hear from him again. Like
Mm,
Pence will not even be a thing in the Republican Party. The future for guys like Pence, we don't have that party anymore. If you really think about it, the Republican Party of Romney, Pence, Paul Ryan, all those people, it doesn't really exist. They have congressional seats, they have a few Senate seats. These people are old. These people are dying out. The primary winners that come out of most contests now are in the mold of Trump. You have Lauren Boebert, you have Marjorie Greene, you have Nancy Mace now. It's funny, all the names I'm mentioning are women. Where are the male firebrands in the party?
hmm,
They're Ted Cruz. Rubio.
right.
I mean, it's weird to talk about Rubio in that way because Rubio was 100% of the Romney wing back in the day. But he's come around.
Hmm.
They've come around, whether because they actually feel the way they feel
Right.
now or political survival, they've come around. The old school, the Pence. So I don't think you'll get the chance to become a Pence hater because in about 5 years you'll say, "Who Pence? What's that? Pencil? Do I need a pencil?" It's being erased.
Mm. So, what is the main difference between the Trump party and the old party?
So to me, it's number one, they actually like to achieve results. The old conservative party, the one that I would never have voted for, I wouldn't have voted for Hillary, but I don't think I just wouldn't have voted if it wasn't for Trump. The old party, they just love to talk. And they were way too holier than thou. They were way too up about being righteous and everybody wants to be righteous, everybody wants to be politically correct, but it never did
Mhm,
anything, they never
mhm.
achieved anything. If you think back to George W. Bush, it was just war. I hated Bush. I was a kid, but I still hate Bush. It was all war. And what do you think of when you think of that stuff? You don't think of actual lives being better or changed. In my opinion,
Hmm.
Bill Clinton was a better president than George W. Bush. I have to say, Bill Clinton, he was a scummy guy. He's a rapist, whatever. That's all true. But when it comes to the way the country was going, at least we didn't have wars all over the Middle East every single day of the presidency. And I just don't understand why George W. Bush is respected whatsoever. And that's why Nikki Haley crashed and burned. She won't win ever. She will not be a part of the Republican Party going forward. These are voices that will be on the sideline. Now, can we split? If this was Europe, we wouldn't be the same party. Like if we had a parliamentary system, Trump and Nikki Haley would not be a member of the same party. They'd maybe form a coalition of governance at some point, but these are two separate parties. It's just that we have a two-party system, so they have to coexist. Nikki Haley is more like us than she is like the Democrats, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, but we're not alike. We're not alike when it comes to that wing and the Trump wing. So I think the main difference is it's results based. It is more in your face. No presidency. God, I just gave him a second dinner. No
No
presidency
problem.
is so results based as the one that we're seeing now,
Right.
and the pace at which things are moving. I can't even keep up. And I look at this stuff for a living now. I can't even keep up with all that has been going
Right.
on in these last 3 weeks. It's been just firestorm. And that's what we need to do. So I think going forward, we'll see people in the mold of Trump.
Hmm.
I think it'll be Vance. And the America First terminology, that's not just a phrase. It actually means stop it with all the other BS for other countries all the time. And that's not isolationist. That's just common sense. We have a lot of problems at home in the United States. Poverty is something they don't talk about, but the living conditions in the United States, if you don't have money, you die. You die. I mean, you get sick. The concept of medical GoFundMe's, okay? The concept of raising money online because you can't afford to pay for your health insurance. You tell people from other countries this, and they look at you like, you're still doing that? And I'm not talking about socialized medicine. I don't
Yeah, I
agree
was
with
going to say, now people are going to say, wait, not only do you look like Luigi, but you're sounding like him.
no, but I don't agree with socialized medicine. But at the same time, I don't agree with illegal aliens do get socialized medicine essentially. Illegal aliens live a beautiful, beautiful existence in our country. They live better than a lot of us. I
Right.
don't. I mean, do you live in a four-star hotel paid for by the government? I don't. I
No.
don't. So when I see stuff like that, and then I see our people really struggling, that stuff pisses me off. And I think we need to help our people first. And whatever form that comes in, I'm not for a welfare state. I'm not for any of that. But at the same time, if we cleaned up all the freaking money that we throw out on other things that have no necessity in our world. Transgender plays in Ecuador. 8 billion, what was it, 3 billion or 3 million? I don't know what they sent to Serbia to put DEI in the workplace of Serbia. Something about Sri Lankan journalists talking in non binary. I mean, you read these things. Number one, you don't know what they mean because they don't mean anything in reality. It's just a bunch of words thrown together because it's all money laundering. But you look at that and then you see people have to buy a short-term disability plan from a private insurer because the school that they work for doesn't cover short-term disability. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? But we can cover Sri Lankan non-binary terms. Okay. That stuff drives me crazy. Maybe I
Yeah.
sound socialist, but it drives me crazy.
No, and I think that's what I find so interesting about MAGA is it's not necessarily opposed to some sort of socialism in some form. And let's not even get too tripped up
Yeah.
around the word. I guess my point is that's why I like a guy like Vance as well, because he comes from the right. He has respect for the Constitution. Yale, right? Yeah, and he's a business leader, and so that's the kind of energy we need. And so he might know how to transform the government, make it more focused on Americans, and whether it's a left policy or a right policy, it's going to be about America, and that's the
Yeah.
point.
And I'm for small government because here's the thing. Imagine you don't have 50%. I say 50% because when you talk about property tax, when you talk about sales tax, all this stuff, at the end of the day, about 50% of your money goes to these people and it gets thrown into the trash. If you just would let people keep more of their own money, they wouldn't be struggling to pay for things. There's
Yeah,
high earners. They're not as rich as you think. They make, three, 400,000 a year. They're paying a six-figure tax bill. Imagine the economic stimulus that could happen if people would keep more of their own money.
yeah,
Imagine what that would do to a small business. I mean, I don't want to tell you what I'm going to pay in taxes this year, but if I would
yeah,
have kept it, oh my God, just what I could do for the tourism industry. Like, I mean, not that I'm going to be buying hotels, but I'd sure be staying in them. Right? Like it
right.
just it doesn't make sense to give it to a government who's going to squander it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to get too tripped up on the never going to be a Democrat again, or there's never going to be a good idea from the left again, because you want to see people thrive, you want to see disadvantaged people taken care of, but you also become very sympathetic to the argument that just let people keep their money. But then the argument always is, what about the people who don't have and who are dependent on the state? I would love for there to be some way to use technology to reduce the size of the government and maybe increase the services, but I don't want people dependent on the government. So I'm still searching for whatever the hell.
It's a weird middle that you have to come to because I mean, so in Europe, I'm a citizen of Italy as well. So I have guaranteed insurance through the government of Italy. I don't use it because I'm not a resident of Italy. So I actually am not entitled to it because I don't reside. My residence is not Italy. So I don't have the entitlement of that. If I became a resident, which I could do by literally writing a piece of paper and whatever, I could have the healthcare. It's horrible healthcare, but you won't die.
Hmm.
Do I want socialized medicine? No. But I don't think people should get sick and die. And there's doctors that would take on, I have doctors in the family. My father's a doctor. These people, if you would lower the cost of medical bureaucracy, if I go to a private doctor in Italy, it's $50 for a visit, $40 for a visit. Private, private, paid cash, not because I have a private insurer, paid cash, $40. The medical costs in America are bureaucracy. My father at the end, I don't want to put his business out there, but he didn't retire essentially because he didn't want to be a doctor anymore. But it doesn't pay when you're paying more people to run your billing department than it is to actually take care of your patients.
Hmm.
And what's the
Mm.
thing they call it? Lawsuits all the time. They want to sue everybody. You have to have such a high insurance policy for frivolous lawsuits from patients, malpractice. The malpractice laws are like horrible towards the doctors here
Hmm.
in America. So you see stuff like that and you look at the actual costs behind the medical industry. We could absolutely take care of people who do not have money necessarily for healthcare if you would lower the cost of healthcare. I had a cousin who went in for an abscess on their arm. They had to get the abscess sliced. So they went to the ER. $4,000 in America to slice a little and when I say abscess, I mean a little growth. Slice
Hmm.
it, drain it. 4K. They have insurance that they pay 500 a month for, but it's an $8,000 deductible. So they didn't hit it, so they had to pay the $4,000 bill. These are the
Worst of
things I
all
talk
worlds.
about.
Yeah.
Where does any of that make sense?
Right.
So, healthcare reform, and this is Obamacare that everybody loves so much, the lovely Obamacare. That's got to go. We've got to get to something better. Do I have the answer as to what we need? No, but I know this is broken. It's very broken, and it's
Yeah.
bureaucracy. That's where you need to Doge to go. And RFK. RFK is going to touch a lot of that stuff.
Well, that's what I'm struggling to finally still accept. I've fully accepted that I like Trump and I just trust him, and I just think he's got the right stuff, and I'm there all the way there. But with the philosophy And actually, on the issue, particularly of health care, I'm still struggling to believe, is it really the case that I can have my cake and eat it too? Reduce the bureaucracy, lower the size of government, do what feels intellectually correct, but also that will also morally allow more people who are in need to be taken care of. If that were true, then I would become like a lion for smaller government. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm still struggling to believe that. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm at.
Well, my thing is government can never do the right thing the right way. So I don't, even if you want to take care of people, let the government maybe assist with private grants of private industry. But if the
Mm-hmm.
government itself runs it, it always seems to go to hell.
Mm,
Government, look at the DMV. It's like when I think of government run healthcare, I look at the DMV and I'm like, do I want that level of service running my healthcare? No,
right. Right.
no.
Yep. Classic, classic argument. So let me switch to a topic here of meeting people. I saw you have pictures online. You met Vivek. You've met Trump. Have
Mhm.
you met Elon?
Not yet. Not yet. I will.
Right
I'm
on.
sure I will. I've always had a knack to meet whoever I seem to want to meet at some point in life,
Right.
whatever that was. Back when I was doing radio, I met everybody somehow, and I just always seemed to finagle my way into the rooms. And with X, it's really easy because now they want to meet you. It was Vivek's campaign invited me to cover the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I think for 2 days in Iowa. That ended up becoming 2 weeks because it snowed and whatever. I remember I was walking around in sneakers in the snow, 9-inch snow, but whatever, because I was gonna go for 2 days. I met Trump. I met Trump a few times. I think three or four. Once way back 2016, very quickly. Another time in 2023 with my girlfriend at the time. He told me I should marry her. And then I met him again in 24, the day before the election, right the day before the election. And he was exhausted, but pushing
Mm,
through. But you could see he was like, that's when he was doing 4 or 5 rallies in a day. I don't think he had slept in a week. And it was a very quick hello, how are you sort of deal. Take the picture and move on. But
right.
yeah, I've gotten the Trump has always been very kind to me. I don't think he knows who I am particularly. But yeah, Vivek is great. Vivek is incredible. Not yet Elon. I'll meet Elon someday.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll tell him to follow me.
Oh, he doesn't. That's funny. So what? So Vivek's going to be the next governor of Ohio, and what do you think his future is beyond that?
That's what they say. I mean, they say he's going to run for the governor of Ohio. I think if he runs for the governor of Ohio, Ohio's a funny state. They kind of vote for really moderate Republicans when it comes to governors. Kasich and then DeWine, they are both really moderate Republicans. So that scares me a little bit for Vivek because if he runs and loses, he's dead.
Right.
He's dead. The magic is over. Um, if he runs and wins, which honestly I don't see how he doesn't, because he's just so fabulous. Like everything he does, he words it so well, and his policies are so thought out. When I was with him, I asked him, God, I bothered that guy. I asked him so many questions because it's like sitting next to an encyclopedia. He never didn't have an answer. He only didn't have an answer for one thing I asked him. And the next day, I had forgotten all about it. He came back to me with the answer for it and what he thought in this 10-minute dissertation. I remember sitting there like, this guy's a genius. He's a
Mm,
real genius. So, yeah, I think he should run for the governor of Ohio. I wish he would have been the VP. No disrespect to Vance. I just wish he would have been the VP. And, or if not, the Doge position is seems to be the most important cabinet position there is right now. But
mhm.
whatever, he wants to run for governor. He should be governor, and let's see if he takes that platform and does what I think he'll do with it. He'll be very high up for Vance and him are very close. Maybe it'll
Right.
be well, it can't be Vance Vivek for the electoral college thing, but who knows? Maybe it can be, maybe it can't be. We'll see. President's not the
Mm,
only position that you can change things from.
right. Yeah. Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. I mean, like a wonder kind. I love how, I really was attracted to him as a candidate. I mean, what a force, another force. And yeah, I've really warmed to Vance as well. What a great pick Vance was.
it turned out to be a great pick. Like, it brought in people. My mother really likes Vance, and she's not the biggest Trump fan, but she really liked Vance because he's very wholesome and you listen to him and it sounds like you're talking to a cousin or an uncle.
Yeah.
And, you know, Trump, you listen to him, he's a larger than life personality. He's a celebrity, he's a star. He is the aura of all auras. He's the charisma of all charisma. Is he relatable? No. I don't, you can't really
Mm.
necessarily relate to him. And you don't need to. I think the whole thing about relatability, I don't need to relate to the president. I need them to make the country work.
Yeah, that's what
So,
I said as I was leaving Joe. I go, you know what I realized? I relate to Joe and Kamala. Not good.
yeah, I didn't relate to either one of them, honestly, but it just, what can you do? And relating doesn't help. I don't think I would make a good president. I don't really need to relate to the president. So I just need them to run the country. But people really are obsessed with this relatability thing. Vance is very relatable.
Yeah.
He's an everyman who
Yeah.
just happened to get a lucky shot at life. He not lucky. He worked hard. He's very smart. He did the right thing. But look, there's a certain amount of luck to everything, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
if you get to be VP, some of that's luck. There's a lot of capable people that didn't get there. So he made the most of his opportunity, and he's been an incredible. It's been 21 days, so don't show me this interview in 2 years when he screws something up and say you said Vance was incredible.
Yeah.
As far
No.
as right now, the first
Yeah.
21 days, he's been stellar.
Yeah. It really has. What a talent. Yeah. I want to circle back to to Jen Psaki. This concept of MAGA being a distinct entity from the hateful people that exist on both sides of the aisle. That's something that I eventually concluded, which is why I was able to vote for Trump. I go, you know what? There is anti-Semitism, there is racism, but there's that on both sides, and ultimately, I don't think Trump is about that at all.
Well, the anti-Semitism people, they hate Trump. I mean,
Right.
these people. I mean, I won't name names, but I mean, the main guy who doesn't love Jewish people on the Republican side, he voted. I don't think he voted, and he didn't vote for Trump. That much I know. He was telling people to not vote for Trump, if I remember
Hmm.
correctly.
Yeah.
They were calling him Zion Don, because
Hmm.
he doesn't hate Jews enough or something. Are you Jewish?
I am. Yeah.
Oh,
But I don't. I also have questions about my own Jewish identity. It's not like
hmm,
I'm a hardcore Jew. So um,
okay,
I was raised a Reform Jew, very spiritual, not religious. But I have
okay,
cousins. I have cousins. I do have family who are more serious Jews. So another
okay.
reason for me to feel torn.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I
yes,
don't.
I
I
am.
don't know much about Judaism myself. I don't really know very much, but I don't particularly hate anybody based on their religion. That's just not something I've ever really been into.
Yeah.
But what I don't like about all the anti-Semitism, it just feels like a cop out. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, I stubbed my toe. Those damn Jews. Like, I don't get. And then
Right.
Kanye the other day, all the Jewish stuff all day, the swastika. At what point does it just become attention-seeking behavior?
Yeah.
It's the third
Yeah.
rail. I don't
Yeah.
get it.
I have not yet connected the problems that agree with that people have diagnosed on the right side with Jews. I just don't see that. In fact, I saw a lot of Jews who are on the right, and so I get it. There's a lot of left leaning progressive Jews.
Yeah, it's the
I get
APAC
that.
thing. I mean, it's the APAC. They donate a lot of money. APAC donates a lot of money, and Israel influences a lot of American politics. That is true. That
Right.
is that is definitely true. And
Yeah.
we are on both sides of the aisle an overwhelmingly pro-Israel country. I don't particularly see very much wrong with that because the alternative is Hamas.
Right.
So, in a very unstable region of the world, Israel is one of the more stable countries. Do I agree with everything in their government? No. Do I agree with everything Netanyahu did in that war? Probably not. Have I paid much attention to it? I got to tell you the truth. I don't live there. It doesn't affect me. I mean, I hate to sound very aloof about it, but Israel and Gaza is not going to change my life very much
Right. Right.
at all. Neither is Russia and Ukraine, frankly. I have to say it. It's just I worry about, is my family going to be good? Are my taxes going to get lower? These are the issues I worry about. Me worrying about the Jews, I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Right. I wonder if you ever get into any squabbles with these guys. It sounded like you did
Oh,
before.
oh my God, absolutely. They don't like, so some of them love me, some of them hate me. I put out a tweet. And they used to actually like me a lot more, but then it just, some of it gets so ridiculous every so often. I'll say something. I have a lot of friends that are big anti-Semites. I have to
Right.
tell you the truth.
Hmm.
We just don't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. And that's fine. I don't care. That's their opinion. They've come to it. I'm not Jewish. They're not hating me. So, I mean, probably a horrible thing to say out loud, but it's
No,
true.
no, no, no. I completely understand.
Yeah.
No.
And so I put a tweet out and I don't know why. Here's one I regret. I said, if you're a black guy and you want to find a white wife, go to Poland.
Oh, I remember
Because,
that. Yeah.
oh, I remember that too. And Nick Fuentes, who I know, he put that quote tweeted and he's like, what the fuck, man? And when Nick Fuentes quote tweets something, and I know Nick. I mean, I have, Nick is Nick. So all his fans descended on me like a phoenix. And that was really interesting. So I mean, we got so many death
So
threats.
what? He thought you were trying to encourage the darkening of a European country.
It was written as me encouraging black men to go and take a white. I was encouraging race mixing.
First of
Oh,
all, it's fun. It was funny. I thought. I mean,
it was. I don't remember why I even wrote it, and I didn't expect it. I don't even remember what made me write it. I think I was actually talking to a friend about. Oh God, I hope she doesn't watch this podcast, but I have a Polish friend. She only dates black guys. And a lot of her friends only date black guys.
right.
And this is a thing in Poland. When you walk around in Warsaw, I'm hearing the comments in my inbox already coming from this interview, but
I
you'll
can.
see a lot of
I can toss
interracial.
it too if you really
No,
like.
I
But
don't want you. Don't toss anything. So the interracial, it is what it is. I'm not opposed. Look, I don't really, if people want to date outside their race, that's a personal thing. That's if they want to do. I
right.
personally
Right.
have never dated anybody outside of my race. I just
Yeah.
never have. But it's something that people want to do it. They do it. That's fine. And I don't encourage it. I don't discourage it. Do what you want. Anyway, I put the tweet out, and oh my God, it was a firestorm. So yeah, the Groypers are not my fans anymore.
Right.
Let's put
Yeah.
it
Like
that way.
I get wanting to preserve cultures, and America is different. And so there's a conversation to be had about what most nations are comprised of, what it means genetically, ethnically, and that America is different. And Vivek deals with that a lot. And
Yeah.
he dealt with Ann Coulter so beautifully, I
He got a
thought.
lot of hate. He got a lot of hate, even in it was in Iowa. There were a few people when we were at these diners. They would walk up to him and ask him, "You're a Hindu.
Hmm.
How is that going to work?" And but what I admire about him is he never changed. A
Yeah.
real politician, a tactical politician, would have just become Christian.
Yeah.
He didn't, and he had a long. I mean, every answer he has is long. It was like a 10-minute answer about how it wouldn't be a problem because it isn't, in my opinion, a problem. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. So, but the Groyper people, they're very distinct from MAGA. They're
Exactly.
very
And
distinct from
I feel
MAGA.
very encouraged by the fact that certain people that you mentioned earlier, I don't even know why I'm dancing around the name Voldemort. Let's just say it. No, certain people encourage their supporters to vote for Harris. That really made me feel super comfortable.
And
So,
I don't know if a lot of that was almost, if you're so much of a lightning rod, you're not going to endorse Trump if you want Trump to win. But I don't know, and
mm,
I don't know. I have no idea.
mm.
I don't talk to Nick like that, where I can say that that's what it was. But he's a contrarian kind of guy. He's a contrarian kind of guy, and
Which I can understand. I don't know much about him.
yeah,
So again, I'm kind of new to this online world. And I have a couple podcast episodes where I've said, knowing very little about his content, oh, wow, look how smart this guy is. This guy has a lot of talent, and there's clearly something to
He's
respect here.
extremely charismatic. He's
Yeah.
extremely
Oh,
charismatic. He's a great speaker. I mean, God, I listen to him every so often. Do I agree on the Jew stuff? I don't. I just don't. But he's entertaining on a lot of aspects that he talks about. So I understand why people listen to him.
hmm
He's very interesting. I know we have mutual friends. I've met him on a few occasions, spoken to him. He's always been very kind and nice to me. Um,
right.
so, but when people say MAGA and then they say Nick Fuentes, no, no.
Right. And
It's,
that's
it's,
always been a false conflation from the beginning. Is that fair
yeah.
to say?
I mean, he was I think 2016. Okay, the truth is, back in the day, he wasn't what he is now. So nobody would really try to pin him there because he wasn't a star like he is now. Now everybody knows his name. I think in 2020, he was with Trump. And I, I, I'd be lying if I really understood when he became a larger than life entity like he is now. But he
Mm,
was more with Trump, I think, back then. And then the more things kicked off with the October 7th Israel Gaza war, when Trump became very much entangled with the Zionism, and when Marion Adelson gave all that money to Trump, I think that's when he started to be. I consider him more single issue, right, than MAGA. MAGA is an
mm,
entire agenda. He's
right.
more of he has an issue. Like, his issue is Zionism and Jewish power within the United States. If that's your issue, then actually you don't have a candidate. You don't have a party.
Mm. That's that's interesting. I'm not going to say it isn't interesting.
Yeah, there's not. You got Rashida Tlaib, I mean,
Right.
but then he hates everything else, I'm sure, that she stands for. But his main issue, I would say, is that. But I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't listen to every show that he does at all to know. And the other issue is the deportations, and I agree with him on that they are slower than I would like them to be. Because I'm sure you could pick up the pace a little bit if you would deputize local law enforcement to get on the boats. Not get on the boats per se, literally, but get on the train, get on the whole thing, and get these people out. 1,000 a day isn't going to cut it. When they
Yeah.
say that, they're right. You got to if you want mass deportations, you need 5, 6, 7,000 a day.
Yeah. And I always say to people, immigration is actually, interestingly, not one of the reasons I really was drawn to Trump. It was more, well, it's perhaps related, but social issues. But when I've said that in the past, my new audience would cream me online and say, don't be, not so many words, don't be such a pussy, you
What
know,
social issues?
well, just the general disposition that Trump has towards particularly the critical race theory stuff. You
Okay.
know, the
All
it's
right. I
I'm
remember you say that you went to law school.
yeah, yeah, it had an
Yes.
outsized
Okay.
impact on me. It
Yes.
really did. Just this idea that we don't have a fundamental problem with American culture, okay? We don't. That's the
Right.
basic disposition.
Right.
So that general vibe and then just the how impressive the guy is. But immigration, it was never a huge driver for me. But whenever I
hmm
would say that, people would get on me and make really good points about, well, look, I mean, why isn't deportation the right remedy for a illegal entry? And I would say, well, shit, I don't know.
Yeah. I
So
know.
you
No.
feel bad, I come from this sympathetic, overly sympathetic posture, but I'm starting to realize that, it's not that the guy is an asshole. It's just that he believes this is the right thing to do. So why are mass deportations the right thing to do?
Well, laws are laws. So if you have a country, that country has borders, and that country has a legal immigration process to get in the country. I went through this legal immigration process with my wife, and they had all these things that had to be done. We paid a lawyer $10,000 almost between
Mm,
everything, all the forms, all the legal stuff. She had to procure a green card. She had to do all these vaccinations. She had to go through all of this stuff. And what pissed me off then, more than anything, is to see other people get that same thing for free. Why
Mm.
should you have a right to be in this country when you didn't earn it? And when you come in and then you take taxpayer funds and give them to these people, hotels, cell phones, various welfare programs, healthcare. I mean, literally, you would go into the New York subway and there would be in Spanish and other languages, Arabic and other signs that would say, if you're not here legally, don't worry. You are still covered for health insurance. Really? Because if I don't send in my check every month, my auto pay
Mhm.
doesn't clear on my account. I don't have health insurance. So why do you, who came into this country without any particular need to be here? They say asylum. Look, asylum is cool if you're Mexican. But if you're not Mexican and you come from another country, they come from the Congo, they come from Liberia, they come from all these countries, Colombia, Venezuela. The first safe country you reach is not the United States of America. That's not geographically possible. So if you are so unsafe in your home country, why did you have to come to this country? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Yeah,
The
not
arguments start to
necessary.
fall
Yeah.
apart. And it really is a term called economic migration rather than asylum. So the left loves to talk about they love to talk about asylum and that people are here to escape the poverty of their home country. There's poverty in my country. I can show you parts of. We were talking about Philly when we started this podcast. I'll show you Kensington. You want to see people who need asylum? They need
Hmm.
asylum from the street they're living on.
Right.
Where's their asylum? Who helps them? So you can't have illegal immigration. You need to have skilled migration when you talk about bringing people in for the right reasons, for business reasons to start company. Look at Dubai, right? Dubai has a great model. The highest level people come in, they either start a business or they work for a company, and it's not very hard to get there. You can go pretty easily, but you're vetted and it's strict. If you break the law, you're out and you never really get a passport because at any point, even you're there 20, 25, 30 years and you break that law, you're out, you're deported. America, if it's the greatest country on earth, it should be an earned privilege to live here.
Why do we treat its privilege of being here so cheaply?
Exactly. Exactly. Otherwise, it
Mm.
means nothing. 7 billion people can't be American citizens. It's not possible. It's
It's
just
so
not possible.
interesting, and it jives with, and I've hardly done any traveling in my life, so one of my problems is that I'm so not cultured. But a friend of mine was in Japan recently, and he said what how beautiful it was, and it was so orderly, and it was more strict. And
Hmm.
so there's something to be said about and I guess God, what's his name? God Sod writes about this, right? The self-preservation instinct of a nation. But America is also conceptualized as this melting pot. So is there tension there between the melting pot vision of America and what we're talking about, raising the
No, because
standards?
you can have a melting pot, but the melting pot has to have order or it's just a fire.
Right.
I
That's what I
mean,
say.
that's the thing. You can't have just disorder everywhere. And honestly, I gotta tell you, certain cultures are not meant to coexist. You have people who come in and look at Europe. I mean, you got refugees coming in from various parts of Africa, and people really, some people take it the wrong way when I say this, but women are treated very different in these parts of the world.
Yeah.
You have countries where, I mean, it's not even considered rape in a lot of these
Right.
parts of the world.
Right.
It's not rape. They just, oh, there's a woman. She's wearing a short dress, and I want to have sex with her. I'm going to go have sex with her. It's not rape in the guy's mind. It's
Right.
just that's it. Because if he sees that in his country, he's just going to go have sex with her and it's going to be okay because the women are not, it's not rape to them, but it's rape to us. We live in a different kind of civilization where we have order. We have something called consent. So there's the famous story in Germany where they were training the refugees to understand consent.
Hmm.
And then they raped the teacher. And it's not funny, but stuff like this.
It's not.
So you have to vet people. You have to understand a little bit. In Cologne, Germany, it was 2015, on New Year's Eve, they raped like 100 people in one city. All these Syrian refugees that came in under Merkel. You can't let people like that into a country. I'm sorry. It's not meant for
Yeah.
America. The cultures don't jive. So, what has to be put first? The people who live here, who were born here or were immigrated here legally, have to be put first. And you cannot sacrifice the quality of life for the 350 million people that live here for people that don't have any right to remain here, period.
Right. And maybe America doesn't have quite the same issue with that some countries are having with some immigrants.
Yeah, not
Uh,
yet.
right. But it's all on the table for consideration.
Absolutely. I mean, what kills me is then you hear the story of Kate Steinle, you hear the story of Laken Riley. Those, and I remember somebody commented on my Twitter when it was Laken Riley who died, and they said, "Why is it more tragic that Laken Riley died as opposed to all the American citizens who killed other American citizens?"
Hmm.
Because her kid literally didn't need to be here. Her killer literally had no reason to be. That death never would have occurred if we had border security, if we had
Right.
an orderly system. It wouldn't have occurred. Now, maybe you can believe, oh, it was her time. A truck would have hit her and she would have died. No, no. You
Hmm.
cannot forgive a criminal. Look, by definition, if you're in the country illegally, you're a criminal. If you want to be really, really down to the bare books about it, the law, if you're in the country illegally, even if you're not breaking any other law, you by definition are a criminal. So you already have one crime. Now, does that mean that every illegal alien has to be dragged out by their feet and thrown onto a bus and transported back over the border? I don't know if that's even realistic. And I don't know how helpful that is. But there are a lot of people that have no business in our country and they got to go. They've got to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree with you that assimilation matters, culture matters.
Yes.
You can't be you can't come in here and start raping people like it's not
No.
illegal.
Assimilation is a dirty word now. Assimilation, they don't like that word anymore. They
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
they talk about, they would say to me, the Italian Americans didn't assimilate. No, no, we did. We did. We actually were treated like dirt when we got over here. My grandparents were called wops, dagos, all these horrible things. They were called awful names. And we weren't treated as badly as some. Okay. We weren't put in internment camps. We were not enslaved, but we were treated like dirt. And these are realities. But what did we do? We assimilated to the culture. We worked.
Hmm.
My family, particularly, never took any welfare. Um, we worked for everything we had, and we became American people. And did we always keep our Italian identity? Yeah, my grandparents died speaking Italian at home. We never spoke English at home. But it doesn't mean that we ever expected the country to change to fit what we wanted. We never walked around and demanded that the people around us living their American lives change their way of life for us. Whereas now, the new class of people, the new class of alien that is coming to this country, wants to fundamentally see America change to their will. Many of them. Many of them do not agree with assimilation at all. And if you don't agree with assimilation, you've got no place here.
Yeah, and that's bottom line what it did for me. Critical race theory is rejection of assimilation, complete rejection of assimilation. It's actually, to put it in a nutshell, it's the melting pot. The thing that we're talking about assimilating into is still a white supremacist structure, in effect, if not by law. And I just found that very uncomfortable, and I rejected it. And I think it's really beautiful what you said about your family was bullied. Whatever, had a less than perfect experience, but through hard work, perseverance, they became American, and you kept your culture.
Yeah, we did.
So,
We are Italian American, right? That's it. And a lot of people say, no, don't say you're Italian American because no, no, we are Italian American, period.
mhm.
And that's it. But it's America first. I was born in America, so for me, it's America first.
Yeah, I might as well ask you. You spent a lot of time in Italy. Do you travel elsewhere a lot frequently, or is it
I
mostly
do.
back
I
and forth to
travel
Italy?
quite a bit. I go back and forth. I have all my family's in Italy, basically, except my mother and father. Everybody else is over here. And so, but when I'm in Europe, it's very easy. You can get a $40 flight just about anywhere on the continent.
Hmm.
So I've been all over. I've been all over. We were in Japan. You were talking about Japan. I was in Japan this summer, South Korea. So I do travel quite a bit. I have a friend. People say, "How do you travel so much?" I have a friend who works for Marriott, so I get the well, I can't say the code. Don't say the code, Joey. But I get a discount code. So I can travel quite a bit. It's nice. And I work remote. So I'm able to do all my work from wherever I am. So that's why I'm able to see a lot of things. Um, so yeah, I'm able to compare a lot of different cultures. I love to do
Hmm.
that.
Right.
I love to do that. And the thing he said about Japan, your friend is totally right.
Right.
Totally right. So
Right.
orderly. You could leave out, you could put a Hermes Birkin bag right on the floor in the
Holy
middle
cow.
of the street, and you would leave it there for 4 hours and it'll be right back there. It'll be right back there. And even the tourists won't steal it because they're afraid to get, punished.
That's unbelievable. That's such a powerful contrast to what a lot of the American experience is now. So being so well traveled, does most of the world respect Trump? I would imagine most of the world does. Who doesn't?
Most of the world loves Trump. They laughed at us. The news in America lies. They say, oh, Trump is hated around the world. They hate him because they don't have him. They want somebody like that. Now, a lot of them think he's crazy.
Hmm.
A lot of us think he's crazy, but he's good crazy. You have to be crazy to be a businessman, never be a politician, and run straight for president. You have to
Hmm.
be crazy, but good crazy. And the crazy that he is works. He's crazy enough that Kim Jong Un fears him. He's crazy enough that Putin
Mm-hmm.
fears him because
Right.
he tells the story about that he told Putin if Putin moved on Ukraine, he would drop a bomb on Moscow. And that
The
Putin didn't
10%.
believe him,
Yeah.
but he believed him 10% because you just never know. He
Right.
might wake
Right.
up and say, get the bombs over there to Moscow. So that's the kind of crazy you need. Biden, there was, and Obama, the red line in the sand. These people drew red lines. Remember Kamala when they asked, what is your message to Putin about Ukraine? Don't.
Mm.
And then you did. Like, these were not serious people.
Right.
Trump is a serious person. So the rest of the world, they don't all like him, but they really do wish they had somebody who at least put their. I know liberals who like Trump in Europe. I know liberals who love Trump in Europe, frankly. They love it. They
Why?
love because he's so nationalist. So the liberals in Europe don't hate their country so much. They're very still pro-nationalist, except Spain. Spain, they're weird. For some reason, they've been trained that Spain is a colonizer country and whatever. Spain, they're not
Interesting.
fans of their own country. But the Italian liberals, they love Italy. The liberals in a
So what's
lot of these
liberal about them? Just social, maybe more socialistic?
more socialism, stuff of that nature, higher taxes, let's bring in more immigration. But they're not sitting around saying, I hate Italy. I
Hmm.
hate no. Even the Hungarians, they have liberals, believe it or not. You don't hear about them much because they don't win anything. But they don't hate Hungary. It's a very unique thing to America where the liberals just hate America, a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And they're afraid to even use what always was weird to me, remember Hillary 2020, Hillary 2016, and Biden 2020? They would not use the American imagery. They wouldn't really have flags around.
So important, Joey. All of what you're saying. And I'm
And
almost, it's almost evoking like an emotional reaction in me. You grow up, you don't want to hate your country, you want to love your country. It's not perfect, but
yeah,
look how hard earned the love we have for it is. And to throw all that away and not have an American flag on stage with you,
no,
and
now
to have all
Kamala did have the flags. Kamala,
right.
I liked that actually about this. The one thing I can compliment her is was it real? Who knows? But she did bring through the American imagery again, and both candidates had American flags around. Biden and the thing is, here's what's funny to me. I don't think Joe Biden hates America. I just
Mm,
think he was run by people who did. I
mm,
don't particularly think Joe Biden was a really awful human being. I
mm.
just think he was run. Joe Biden was the ultimate Trojan horse candidate. He, by the point that he ran for president, there was nothing up there anymore. There was almost nothing home. to
Mm,
have any pushback against people like Blinken or any of these people that actually ran the show. So they could do whatever they want. I think if Joe Biden from 2012 or 2008 saw what he did from 2020 to 2024, he would kill himself. I really believe that. The man would look at what he did, the policies that he presided over, he would slit his throat. I can't
mm,
believe he would look at what became of his presidency and approve of it because he saw America become so weakened on the world stage. The withdrawal in Afghanistan, the immigration disaster. He believed in immigration laws. He believed in order way
hmm
back. He
hmm
didn't believe in a free for all. And everything in his presidency. Rachel Levine being the transgender health
Everything
secretary.
was a point. It's like everything came from his granddaughter. Everything, it was a total embrace of what I just found out that I found disturbing in law school is everything is an attack against America, image wise or
Yes,
everything.
yes, it was the most anti-American presidency, much more so than Obama, because, if
Mm,
you want to say the theory that Obama hated America, okay, but he was not stupid enough to admit it. He was never stupid enough. You can say
mm,
he hated America or he didn't hate America, but he always acted like he loved it.
right.
Biden didn't even act like he loved the country. Biden was very on board with the whole leftist ideology that America is fundamentally wrong.
Yes.
And I think that's a lot of the reason the Democrats got rid of him is not necessarily because of the dementia. When they actually got rid of him, you couldn't. And then Kamala came in and embraced Americana again. If you remember,
Yep.
Tim Walz,
That was a
he
good
was
course correction.
he draped that flag over himself. I mean, they were acting like they loved this country. Now, everything they were proposing was antithetical to what the country was founded upon and the principles of liberty and the Constitution. That's another story. But at least they did it draped in the flag. So that I think was a fundamental difference that we just need. It shouldn't be the Republican Party, and I'm saying this as a Republican. The Republican Party should not own the American flag. The Republican Party should not own the imagery of
Right.
America,
Exactly.
right? That should be for all of us. All of us should want to live up to the ideals that are embraced in that flag. But the fact that you look at the flag and you hear that song, I'm proud to be an American, the one that Trump walks out, and that you know everything in that song the Democrats don't believe
They
anymore,
equate that to white supremacy.
what's that have to do with white supremacy?
And you could have an adult conversation about, the troubles that black people have had dating back to the founding of our country, but to flatten history like that and to be so
Well,
short-sighted is
yeah. Well, but black people, they built the country through their blood, sweat, and tears. They should love it more than
right,
anybody. They
right.
should not be told that they don't belong here. And I hate the way the Democrats talk to black people. And I have a lot of black friends who believe this stuff. And America hates us. You built
Mm,
the damn country. You
yeah,
were enslaved here and you overcame. You saying we will overcome, and then you overcame. So you should love it more than I love it because
yeah.
you
This is your
literally,
country.
yeah, you are here and you can thrive here. And like, so the way they're talked to, it's so offensive. Just when you think about it, I'm not black, so I don't understand particularly their perspective on it. But I just couldn't imagine being told every day by a political party, you cannot get ahead because you're black.
Exactly,
Really? So
exactly.
why would I vote for you if that's what you think of me? You can't figure out how to get an ID. You can't figure out how to work a computer. You can't figure out how to work a Xerox machine.
Right,
There can't be voter ID because black people can't figure out to get an ID. Really? Because when I go
right,
to an airport, I see plenty of black people around, and I don't think you can get on the airport without an ID. So, I mean,
right.
it
Yeah, you
just
can
is
have an
false.
awareness and a conscientiousness of the black contribution to this country, the enormous contribution, without flattening our entire existence into what it used to be, you know?
Slavery has been done for 200 plus years.
Yeah.
We keep talking about it. And it's always okay to acknowledge the past, but to create a perpetual victimhood,
So
you'll
important.
never move forward. You'll never move forward.
Yeah. And this is exactly what got me on this path. the contrast between Biden, the Trojan horse, and Trump, the good crazy guy. What a contrast.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just will we get back to a more normal election next cycle? Who knows? But it's so
Well,
crazy, isn't it? How Bo Biden's death played a role. I mean, how did we get here? It's such a drama, isn't it?
I don't,
Almost larger than life.
I
Or you
don't
don't buy
believe,
that?
I don't buy the whole Joe Biden thing. Here's what I believe is that 2008, Hillary and Obama were going at it. Okay. They gave Obama the nomination. He gave her the Secretary of State position with the deal that she'd be next up. I don't believe Joe Biden's death affected it. I really
Mm,
don't believe that. I know that was a good excuse
right,
and it sounded nice. I've never bought the whole Joe Biden thing.
right.
Maybe it's true, but these people lie every word that
Yeah,
comes
I'm
out of their
probably
mouth.
putting way too much weight on it, between the when he says the Charlottesville thing, and I guess I'm just trying to get inside the personal story of Biden. It's tragic, isn't it? What happened to him.
Yeah, I mean, you see, the thing is, I would feel worse for him if he wasn't corrupt when he was not senile. But he was a scumbag of a person. He was, oh, Joe is such a wholesome guy. No, he's not. I mean, he sat there and enriched his whole family for 50 years on the taxpayer dime. You hear the story from the daughter. That story is disgusting. You hear, look at Hunter, how he turned out. I mean, stuff doesn't add up with Biden. So, do I think he hates America? Not necessarily. I don't think he even knows what America is at this point. I think he drools into a cup most of the day,
Mhm.
if you ask me. But don't get it twisted. The guy is not a good guy. He never was.
Right.
But I don't think he was anti American as he was put to be as president.
Well, that's probably exactly what it was. Just the power sharing, horse jockeying in the Democratic Party, the elites, and that's why so many people turned away from the party because if it wasn't Bo Biden, it was just this power struggle that wasn't very democratic.
There wasn't a primary in 2016.
Yeah.
Hillary would have never won the primary if there was not super delegates. Bernie Sanders would have won that. Okay, had Biden won, had Biden run, Biden would have beat both Hillary and Bernie, in my
Really.
opinion. Yeah, he was the sitting VP. Everything was lined up for him. I think it would have been a very easy transition. But he didn't run because if he run, you wouldn't have had a chance for Hillary. Do you remember who else ran? It was Martin O'Malley
Right.
and some other random guy in 2016. I don't even
Beto, was
remember
it
who it
Beto
was.
O'Rourke? Was he
No,
was he
Beto wasn't even a thing back then. Beto didn't come out till 18.
Martin
It
O'Malley?
was
Yeah.
it was Martin O'Malley and some other sacrificial lamb, and
Oh,
and
Mark. There was
Bernie.
there was another Mark, right? There was a Mark who got into some trouble, sexual. He had an affair or something.
He wasn't. I don't even think he made it to a debate.
And maybe that
Whoever.
was a Republican. Mark Sanford, is that a governor from like South Carolina? Does that ring a bell?
It
There's a
does
guy.
ring a bell, but I'm not sure where he was or what he
Yeah.
was doing. But it was Hillary's election to lose, and the super delegates, the system that Debbie Wasserman Schultz had put into place, made it very simple. Bernie couldn't win. Nobody could win. It was only Hillary. So I never considered voting for her. It was just never a thing I wanted to do. I didn't agree with the war stuff, and I didn't really pay much attention. But I would have probably shown up on election day and maybe pushed the button for maybe her, maybe Trump. I don't know what I would have done because had Trump not gotten the race, I would never have paid attention to the race, which is the way a lot of people feel. A lot of people, politics started in 2016.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I mean, this guy's a game changer. Like you said, pop. He made politics pop culture. Unbelievable. What a game changer. I mean, is this a once in a century change to America? Do you think? Is it that big?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're not going to get this again. You're not going to get another guy. Trump is just larger than life. You're not going to get a guy larger than life like Trump again. He he transcends politics. He's an icon of a certain sense where all over the world, I've got people who don't know anything about politics, but they know who Donald Trump is. A lot of
Mm.
them, sometimes you'll go to places they don't know who Joe Biden is, even though he was the president. They
Right.
definitely can't tell you who Kamala Harris was. Back when Kamala was running against him and I was in Europe for the summer, they'd be like, "Who's the woman?" And the woman? Trump and the
Mm-hmm.
woman, Trump, but it's
Mm-hmm.
always Trump. Trump is here and everybody else is here. He's just another level of person. Whereas Obama didn't even have the gravitas Trump has globally. I
Mm-hmm.
know people don't believe Obama was well respected, Obama was well liked by the world. This is true, but he wasn't Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a cultural phenomenon. It's a
And that,
different deal.
and that's why people are sometimes uncomfortable with it because he's an icon, and some people do worship him.
Some people do worship him. Yeah, I've been accused of worshiping him. I don't worship him. I don't pray to the guy, but I
Right.
do look up to the guy. I do look up to him very much, and the leadership qualities that he has. I wish if we had 435 people in Congress with his leadership skills, you couldn't stop this country no matter what you did. But he knows how to lead. You don't go from where he came from, which was a real estate developer in New York. There's no reason he was president other than that he has what it takes. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how
Mm.
to lead, and he was a real estate developer in New York. If any real estate developer in New York could have done it, Bloomberg would be president too.
Yeah, that's so
Bloomberg has
interesting.
a lot more money too. So it wasn't that he bought the presidency either. $10
Right.
billion in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I'll take it, but it's not a hell of a lot of money when you consider wealth throughout these people. Bloomberg is worth 200 something $billion. Bloomberg only won American Samoa.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about it. This guy has the political talent like you've never seen before. It's just, and for me, it was just eventually getting comfortable with the fact that, hey, I do agree with him and I am going to vote for him. And once I turned the corner, it was like, holy shit. And now I get accused of worshiping him too. But as you said, it's just no, I respect the guy. I look up to him. I admire that.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. No, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a perfect place to leave it, Joey. It's been really informative for me. I learned a lot about you, and you've helped guide me. I'm always looking for advice on how to feel comfortable in my new political posture. So it's been great.
Well, you're 100% welcome here. I mean, everybody's welcome in MAGA. Everybody's welcome in MAGA.
Right. Well, thank you so much for making the time for me, Joey. What do you got coming up? I'm not even just asking for the audience like a cheap plug, but what's on your agenda in the next couple months for you?
Well, my mother has a brain aneurysm, so I'm dealing with that. So right now, everything is just paused. Really, to be honest, I'm just going to do what I always do. But right now, I got to make sure she's okay before we make any bigger plans. But when you say like plans, like planning to run for office or something, that's not something I want to do. Stuff like
Right.
that, that's never. I just do what I do until I get tired of doing it.
All right. Well, thinking about your mother and your
Yeah.
family and wishing you guys the best and look forward to seeing your commentary soon. It's really honestly, Joey, been a great pleasure to host you. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining me.
you. Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Appreciate it. Take care.